All right, today is October 14th, so season's coming to an end. So this is where we are in the season. I want to show you some trees. Hopefully it's cloudy and the rain holds out. Show you some trees that are in different stages and what they look like, how they grew, and we'll just chat about what you want to do and think about when you're looking at your fig trees right now. Talk about shaping your trees first year, second year, third year, and kind of give you some ideas and maybe a roadmap to get you thinking about what to do now and for the upcoming season. So we talked a lot about the different strategies for growing that first year, and at least what I think is a really good method. Yeah, there are some different methods out there. This method, I think it's really good for folks because it's like, I'm not sure what to do, I'm just gonna follow this method and it works. If you go on our figs, a lot of very, very experienced growers are doing the training method that I recommend. But it's not the only way to grow figs, so don't worry about that. However, it is a very good method. And once you get the concept, you get a good product. The tree looks fantastic, so we like to have pretty trees. In addition to actually getting the fruit, we're not just growing pretty trees, we're trying to grow trees that'll give you fruit. Okay, here's the sun. Different shapes of trees and how they came out, and nothing's perfect. I got a lot that didn't grow the branches where I wanted to grow them. You know, you can do things like, you know, notching the branches, notching above the nodes to try to get a branch to grow out. I haven't had luck doing that this year, so we'll see. So I'm just going through this with you. These are the things that a lot of folks do, and a lot of it takes some practice. So, okay, so this is Nuestra Senora del Carmen, and I'll bring the camera in and I'll show you some of the shape of these branches. This is a second year tree, and we have 4 branches. So let's just take a look at that and see what we have. All right. So the first year this grew and was cut in the fall after it went dormant. And then I got 2 branches that came out on the sides. Put some of these little spacers in there. You can take those off now because they're holding. For branches there. And a branch there. You can do 3. I just like 4. Easy to balance. Okay, so now look at this branch right here. All the hormones will be at the top when this wakes up, or when this woke up this past spring. And so you get a lot of growth here. What I need to do is I need to tie this down a little bit. And I could do that now. I should have done it earlier in the season. But anyway, just so it's not, all the growth isn't going to come here. And actually, this tree really, these branches grew about as much as I would want. So I'm not gonna cut these at all, or you know, trim these back. Maybe this top one I'll trim just a little bit, but I do want to pinch off those buds. We're gonna have a lot of fig mites in there. But also, I don't want this just to keep growing next year. I want the branching to come from these nodes along here, all right? Same thing over here. Pinch this off so the branching grows here. Same thing here. Pinch this so we get some branching through there. So that's a typical tree. You know, there's more you could do if you wanted to in terms of trying to get a better balance, but I think this isn't too bad. This is pretty typical. You know, we got north, we got one at the 12 o'clock, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position, more or less, if you look from the top. So this isn't too bad. But I do want to bring this down a bit. I don't want this to get all the nutrients and really only the growth to only come out of here and just have branches here for next year. So that's something to think about. I do need to train that down. Let's see, these are pretty good. It's late in the season for you, but it's not going to matter too much. When, you know, the tree wakes up in the spring, softens up, you can put these on. All right, so let's look at another tree. This is, what is this, Saint Germain. Again, branches aren't too bad. Look relatively balanced out. And I need to train this one down. And the same thing applies for the rest of what we just talked about. All right, so let's look at Nuestra Senora del Carmen. This is a tree that I cut down right there to get some regenerative growth, hard pruning, whatever you want to call it. Cutting it down here. This had fig mosaic, so now it looks absolutely beautiful. Okay, so this tree was a second-year tree at the beginning of this year, but I basically took it back when I cut this back. We started our training process over on the first year. So now it goes up, beautiful, very little fig mosaic. It got to about here. And so what I'm gonna do is go up 30 inches and treat this like a first year cutting. Go up 30 inches and cut it. Next year, this will be third year. And what we're gonna see is, it has the scaffolding already for next year. And what that's gonna do is, it's gonna set the fruit a little earlier. So we'll see. Depending on how crazy long of a ripening season this thing has, if I can keep it around or not. But that's what you're gonna get your third year. You're not gonna have to grow this branch and then get the fruit set weeks and weeks after the growth. All right, this is gonna be here already. It's gonna put out growth this way, no longer this way. And those branches won't grow as long as these for the most part. So the fruit's gonna set earlier and you're gonna have a better chance at ripening some of these fruits. Del Cor, this has a great endorsement by Bill from Off the Beaten Path Nursery. This is where I got this. And I put this into a 7-gallon square. Not a huge growth on it. I guess I had more trees and didn't put my focus so much on some of these trees, but you know, it's definitely good enough. And all I need is 30 inches. Sometimes these get up to, this is about 4 foot high. Sometimes they'll get up to, you know, 7 foot. And that can increase this, the thickness of this branch for its first year. So cut this at 30 inches. All right, so that was a first year cutting. That's how we treat that. All right, let's look at Fertilino. Excellent, excellent early variety. So I cut it, and at the beginning of this year, we just had the stem. Then it got 4 branches. I'd say fairly balanced out of here. Get these little limb spreaders, take them off. So again, I need to bend this down. I'm gonna have a lot of cuttings of Fertilino, fantastic early variety, another second-year tree. But if you look at the, it's a little thicker than the Nuestra Senora. It's got a bigger pot. Bordesol Blanca Negra, same thing. Cut right there. Got 4 branches. Want to train these down a bit. Let's take a look now at some trees that don't have a great shape. You've already seen the Galicia Negra, which I'm not happy about, so that's going to get a total do-over. But let me show you some other trees that just, you know, didn't grow perfectly, as I would say, in perfect distribution and shape or whatever. But they're fig trees. They're going to give good figs, and we're going to get them to open up and spread out and shape them, and it's going to be absolutely fine. So let's take a look at some trees that are a little less than perfect in the way they put out their branches. All right, so this is a Violette de Soliez. I'm gonna give this to Ohio fig tree grower, AKA Travis. I'll link his channel below. He's got some amazing trees. Lives real close to me. He's got a great setup. He's got so much sun. His trees perform amazingly, way better than mine do. But this tree is going to Travis. So let's talk about this and why I think it's not a perfect shape. So here we have the infamous Y branching. And you know, if you look at this in your OCD, you think, well, let me bend this down so the Y is perfectly spread like that. And here's why I'm not doing that. Once you get that perfect Y spread, you know, where the point straight down and these two are equally, this branch would be up, then you're going to have two different groups up here and branches and so on, and that's going to create stress on that point. So you don't want to have a perfect Y. So what this is doing here, this is still, you know, going pretty much straight up. It kind of goes back and forth, jogs a little, and this is pretty much going out to the side a bit. So this should be fine the way it is, but just avoid that Y. That's something to keep in mind. I have a little spreader in here. This is just bamboo, so I can take that out of there. But this is a third-year tree, so you can kind of see some branching coming off of this main scaffold there. And again, you could take this and bring it down a little bit so that the apical tip is not so high up. Over here, same thing. You can bend these branches down a bit, and so you don't have one branch that's the highest above the ground. Whatever branch is the highest from the ground is going to get the most hormones, and you could run into a situation where that's the only thing growing. You don't want to do that. So this should be fine. It's got plenty of branching, but just training them down a bit is going to open this up a bit more for more sunlight to get in to the fruit. All right, Fagoin, and it's grown really nicely in this big pot. Really big pot last year, and as a first year cutting, and then I cut it here. So we had a nice, huge, I mean, look at that. That, you know, this is growing in one single liter. You're not gonna get a trunk that big if you pinch in the middle of the summer. It ain't gonna happen. The hormones come out of here and they go all the way up to the top. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the top 4 nodes is where the branching started. This year I just kind of let it go. This isn't too bad. Ideally, as we saw in the first video, you get one a little lower, you know, maybe there. Ideally, you have the branches spread a little more, and then you have them 90 degrees apart. And these are pretty close to that 90, you know, more or less, you know, 12 o'clock, 6, 3, and 9 for the most part. But they're a little up here, a little focused. You know, what's the remedy to that? You can certainly pinch some of these, or once you get the shape, you can pinch and encourage other buds to grow. But that's just where I ended up this year, and it's not too bad a place to be. There's some other growers that I gotta say, they're better at this than I am for sure. And Gina on our figs is I don't know, she doesn't think she's an expert, but I gotta say I think she's pretty much an expert on shaping trees, and Pete as well. So yeah, this is how it grows, and you can have all your branching up at the top, and that's not ideal, right? Let's go over to Bordeaux Blanca Negra. This one's a little better. Got the branching a little lower, a little more spread out. Here's the Sangue Dolce. So we got, the nodes are bigger. So, you know, just the node spacing is what allowed this tree to get more spread out. Okay, so let's go back to this. So, what do I do with this at the end of the season? All right, it's got a big pot. I'm gonna go about 24 inches and snip. 24 inches, snip, 24 inches, snip, 24 inches, and snip. So now the main scaffolds will have 24 inches. If you have a smaller pot, you go 18. If you're gonna keep it even smaller, you can go 16, 12. I may up pot that, so it is where it is. So that's basically what I'm gonna do with this tree. About 20, 24 inches, make the cuts, and then those are gonna start to fill in next year. They're gonna start to branch over here. It'll be cut around here. These will start to branch, and I wanna kinda train them outward to keep this open. All right, so Apparel Ramada, this is a 3rd-year tree this year. Let's take a look at the shape of this. This, again, not exactly perfect. It's not a perfect Y, but you know, to keep in mind, you could have some weakness there. And I could always kind of just put like maybe a leather strap in there so this doesn't get weak and maybe the wind or something cause it to crack. So keep that in mind. But anyway, this is where we are. So you got a 3 split, 3 branching, and then this comes up 3 more. So these 2 come up, and now you go to 3. Same thing here to 3. So these are all just singles all the way up. So, you know, what do I do with this tree? I could just cut all the tips. So keep these 3, but then I could just cut these tips, right? And put everything about the same level. Maybe this one I could cut here. I could cut everything to this size, and then it's just everything all the way across. This would still have 3. If I cut it this level, you know, if I cut everything just right to there, this is going to have 3. These will have singles. So there's flexibility to what you want to do. Some people would not cut anything at all. Wouldn't pinch, wouldn't prune a single thing on this tree. So that's an option. And certainly I think it's gonna, this didn't have a lot of growth this year. This is Apparel Ramada. And I got so many figs off of this. It was absolutely fantastic. This is a top tier variety, certainly a top 10, if not, maybe not top 5, but a top 10 for sure. Fantastic. And different options, what you can do at this point. If you wanted to, you could cut everything to just 12 inches above there. You know, a lot of things you can do. I mean, that's gonna maybe set you back a little more, but if you keep all these nodes, they're likely to grow just a few inches and set fruit right away. So, not a right and wrong way to do it. You just gotta kind of tinker with it and see what you want to do. So I'm not gonna tell you only do it one way. So I think a lot of folks would not even trim this at all. Okay, this is Thermalito. Hi, Ellie. Let's talk about Thermalito. This is Thermalito, and it's got a good shape. So this was 3rd year. 3rd year this year, and it's roughly the same height. So I don't think I'm gonna touch this, because this is going to, I may pinch these. I got to chat with some friends about it first. We'll see what I come up with. You can certainly spread these out if you wanted to. Spread those out. Here, this is a little tight. Maybe you trim a couple, you know. Trim this one off of here, and so then you have these 4 that are gonna grow. This looks like a tree on its own right there. Keep those there. Maybe trim these 2 down little closer to these. If you let these grow, these two aren't going to get much. All the energy will go in there. So this one, I don't know, maybe keep those. Inside here, this is going inside the tree. Okay, this I would trim because it's kind of growing inside, and you want to keep this open. Certainly here, this is far enough away from that middle that I'd keep it. Same thing here. So this is a third tree. You know, doesn't have perfect shape, but you know, if you don't try to get perfect, you're never going to get close to perfect. So you got to at least try to do it right, and Mother Nature will take you off course just a little bit, but this is pretty good. You know, it's balanced out a bit down here. So this one I don't think will be touched. Maybe this will be chopped to kind of level it out a little bit. And that's it. All right, so I hope I answered more questions than I raised. Shaping fig trees is a little bit of a science and more of an art form. Different ways to do it. I think the method that I'm kind of preaching here and sharing is a good method, and once you get into it, you stick to it, and you're going to get a good result. You know, if you want to go into some big debates as to when you pinch or if you pinched earlier in the summer and so on, definitely this isn't the only way to do it, and I want to emphasize that. I've said it many, many times, but it's a fantastic way to do it. One of the key factors too in doing a single leader method and comparing it to pinching mid-season, like Ross suggests, if you're going to have a tree cutting, first year cutting in a small pot, 3 gallon, and you do single leader, and then you have first year cutting in a 7 gallon, you know, you're not going to get the big advantages that single leader method has over pinching mid-season, like Ross suggests. Your real advantages that come from a single leader method, I believe, come from getting a variety into a bigger pot sooner, and that's in your first year also. So if you have a variety that you want Italian 258, get that into a pot the first year, a big pot. You know, I'm talking 7 gallon square, something like that, if not bigger, the first year. Fertilize the hell out of it. Don't worry about fruit, especially Italian 258. Just don't, you know, a later ripening variety. Just fertilize the hell out of it and get all that green growth. You want to establish that foundation. So that's going to make the difference. Your first year trees are going to be off to a great start. So that's where this single leader method really excels. Now, the issue with that is, if you have a tree that you don't know, you're going to keep around, you just want to test it, you want to try it, you just want to see what the variety's like, see if it's true to type, whatever, and you keep it in a small pot, you do a single leader method, or Ross's method, whatever, you get a couple of ripe figs. You can't take, if that's what you want to do, you may not want to up pot that crazy unknown variety to a 15 gallon pot. That's a lot of soil, it's a lot of money. Your pots are going to cost money, and you're going to have all these giant trees everywhere, and come fall, you're going to have to store those somewhere, and that's just going to be crazy. So trust me, I've done that. And so I got some big pots around here, and I'm like, I don't even want this tree anymore. So yeah, that's the Achilles heel to this plan, is putting it in a big pot right away. It works for varieties you really want. But if you're just testing, you know, you're not going to want to stick that in a 10, 12, 15 gallon nursery pot. So anyway, there you go. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and try to answer them. Other people can chip in, but just remember, it's You know, you can't break your trees. Try something, tinker with it, try different methods, try what I'm suggesting. This isn't my method. This is like a tried and true method, you know, that goes back to Japanese pruning principles and training and who knows what. Been around for a long time, the stuff that I'm just sharing. It's not me. So try everything you want to try, different methods and so on. Probably going to get figs using a bunch of different methods. So this is just one. Have fun and grow some figs.